What do you do when relatives decide to visit? Dead relatives, that is. Sharp edges, inexplicable but true. Do sharp edges exist between what we perceive and reality? Here are 3 stories that blur the boundaries between the living and those who are no longer with us. Uncle Tony. My oldest could talk before she could walk. As a toddler, she was always excited when we invited people over for a party. One particular July 4th gathering, when her godfather made his usual appearance, she was so excited to see him that she ran to him yelling, "Uncle Tony! Uncle Tony!" Her loud screeches of delight caught my attention, but I wondered who she was yelling for. I saw my brother-in-law scoop her up in his arms. I saw the whole exchange. But who was Uncle Tony? When I caught my husband's attention, I asked him, "Who's Uncle Tony?" And he answered in a really flat tone, "Chucky." I must have had quite a confused look on my face, because he quickly explained that his brother, who we always called Chucky, Rachel's uncle, who was holding her now, had a name the family never used. "His name is Anthony," he said. "He was named after my father. In fact, he's the only one who ever called him Tony." Now, at this point, I had known my brother-in-law for more than a decade. I even worked with him in an office for a couple of years, and I never once heard Chucky called Anthony, or Tony for that matter. I walked over to Rachel and Chucky and asked if he had told her his real name. He answered no, shaking his head. Why would I? To this day, she still calls him Uncle Tony. She's the only one in the family that does. Her grandfather told her this well-kept family secret. After all, he was the one who named him. His first son now has his name. But there was one problem with this idea. Granddad had been dead for almost 40 years. Grandma's new house. My mother-in-law, Ginny, would often joke that if she ever won the lottery, she'd buy a great big house and a brand new car. We'd laugh when she went on this way, because we knew how badly she drove, and she never played the lottery. But she didn't enjoy gambling, and she didn't have Sunday drives for that matter, but she did enjoy her grandchild, Rachel. When Rachel was a baby, she'd visit her grandma and zip around her house in a walker, and she caused all kinds of havoc. She'd make the dog go scurrying away, and she'd make figurines fall off shelves. She was a one-baby wrecking crew on wheels. Sadly, Ginny died before Rachel was finally talking and walking. At family dinners, my sister-in-laws would remember her and how sad they were that they couldn't spend time with her anymore. At one family dinner, Rachel heard her aunties talk this way about her grandma and told them not to be sad. She explained that Grandma was very happy. She said, "Grandma's happy now because she has a great big house and a brand new car." The aunts were surprised and a little afraid. "How do you know that?" said Auntie Debbie. "Grandma told me last night," she told her aunt. She then went on to explain that Grandma would sit with her on her bed every night and visit. She explained, without a second thought, "Grandma told me she has a car, so she can go wherever she wants and whenever she wants. And a great big house with lots and lots of room." He's tickling my feet. One morning I was making breakfast for Rachel. She was at the age where she was out of a high chair but using a booster seat. I was in the kitchen, and I got out that bright blue plastic booster and put it at the end of the kitchen's L-shaped bench. Then I called Rachel to come and eat. She ran in as toddlers do. She climbed onto the bench, picked up the booster, and moved it from the end, nearest me, to the middle of the long bench. I didn't really mind, but now I have to reach across the table to give her breakfast. So I asked her, "Baby, why'd you have to move the chair from the end to the middle? Mummy's going to have to reach across the table to give you breakfast." She said, "Sorry, Mama, but there's a man sitting there." and she pointed to the end of the bench. I was used to Rachel's ghostly proclamations at this point. She had talked to my husband's dead father, after all, got visits from her deceased grandmother, and once asked my husband to move the cows in the living room because they were blocking her view of the television. So I just let it go and went on with putting the finishing touches on her breakfast. But when I turned around to hand her the bowl of oatmeal, I noticed her legs were crossed, causing her to lean forward on the booster. Worried that she would fall forward, I asked her to straighten out her legs. She said she couldn't. "Why, baby?" I asked. "Because the man is tickling my feet," she said. Impossibly, I understood what was going on. No, I didn't see the man. No, I didn't see hands reach out and tickling her feet. But I did remember that when my grandfather, Rachel's great-grandfather, would visit me after church, he would sit with his top coat on, hat on the bench next to him, and a cup of coffee on the table, in the exact spot that Rachel was telling me a man now sat. And I also knew it was my grandfather for another reason. Because when I sat with Papa when I was a toddler, and he sat next to me at the end of the bench by the back door in the exact kitchen, he would reach out under the table and tickle my feet. Thanks for listening to Sharp Edges, Inexplicable But True. If you like listening to true stories that make you question what you see and call reality, be sure to hit the like button. Please subscribe and comment. I'd love to hear your questions. And finally, if you have a true story that you would like to share, be sure to send it to sharpedges2021@gmail.com. Until next time, look out for those sharp edges.